It's about that time, ladies and gentlemen. The pilot episode. It won't be perfect, but it'll be worth it. It won't be perfect, but it'll be worth it. This is the pilot episode. We'll go ahead and get started. So essentially, the purpose of this is to bring information while we entertain and educate and uplift. When it comes to how to write a book in a practical way, I keep it really simple to the point. When it comes to how to write a song, we'll take it through the process of finding a beat you like to lyrics to anything else that you feel is necessary within that content. Same as a film. The film is probably the harder one, in my opinion, out of it all. Criminal justice navigation. Really, my goal is everything that I've come across is to pass it on. I don't want to die with any knowledge, with any information I have. I want everything to be extracted from me. And in addition to the books and the content I make, I found this would be a nice platform to share that as well. And then put this in videos in addition to the curriculum that I'm pushing out. So it's really just the same intent or similar intent, but a different platform and a different presentation. And so my goal today is just to walk you through the website, introduce myself, give the expectation, and to get any constructive harsh. It's got to be harsh. Give me harsh constructive criticism, and just to get better each and every day, each and every time, because I'm new to this myself. While at the same time, that the worst thing I could do is nothing. And so each time I do this, I'll get better, more organized, more strategic, and we'll continue to do the things we need to do. All right. The website, omariaa.com at the top, the Black Excellence Gallery, and we'll go in more depth about all of these. This is a simple pilot episode just to see how well the process is. I feel like it's nice, but I want outside perspective on it as well. Maybe somebody doesn't like the mic I'm using. I could use a different mic or the backdrop or just any feedback. I'm looking for feedback. So at the top, we have the Black Excellence Gallery. We have the home, which is where the page we're on now. We have the store, which is at omariaa shop.com. We'll go into more later. The homicide hotline, the People's Criminal Law, the Peace First Association, vocational nonprofit, Past First Entertainment, and the podcast, the Specificity Podcast. Let's dive in it. This episode will be about 20 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. And so we'll just keep going. And so the top, I'm really intentional in my work. This is a piece of the Black Excellence Gallery. And essentially my goal with this one, and I'll start clicking on as I talk, is to reprogram the subconscious when it comes to what we're able to do, our representation, what we look like, our possibilities, what it means to be African American, to be Black. It's reprogramming. And so my goal with this, and I'm gonna continue to click as we go. My goal with this one is essentially to show you different images versus what you've seen throughout society. On the news tonight, you'll watch a certain story shown and exhibited and displayed and presented, and it's gonna have a certain context, a certain intention behind it. Well, I heard a quote that you can spend your energy and time telling somebody why what they're doing is wrong, or you can use that same energy and show people what's right. You can see my decision. And so we can go through these. There's hundreds and hundreds of images, and it's just showing us in a different context. It's showing us in a different light. It's showing us different possibilities. It's showing us family and cohesion, upliftment. And shout out to my HBCUs too. And this is the intent. Rewiring the brain on what it looks like to be us, what it looks like to represent us, and the things we're able to accomplish in the meantime. And so I'm gonna leave it on this one. Mm-mm-mm. So the mission statement for the Black Excellence Gallery: everywhere we look, there are pictures of the Black community conveying dysfunction and regression. While the negative images are ample, the positive images are minimal and almost non-existent. The intent is to consistently provide inspiration, encouragement, and hope for the next generation. Inspiration, encouragement, and hope that things will change for the better. And if you want a lot more of these images, you can follow this link right here. This is a sample. You know how they do it, Sam's Club and different establishments. You don't give them the whole thing. You give them a small piece, an excerpt. All right. The podcast, the Specificity podcast. Essentially, the goal for me was to create a self-help and education platform. Where can people go to get reliable, consistent, and stable information that they themselves can take and do better with, or take and add on to. That way, we have a stable foundation. This latest episode is the discreditation and the sabotage of Black male leadership. And it's a topic that's come across, that's lingered with me because I've experienced a little bit of it myself, and I wanted to take a deeper look. I wanted to prepare that next leader of the community with the trials and tribulations and the lessons and skills that I've learned, through conflict and confrontation and through sabotage. That way they can have more information on a preventative standpoint. A great man told me you can have a gallon of being reactive, but you can have a small pint of being preventive. And the preventive always wins because there's less energy you have to use being organized and being prepared. And so that's the biggest thing. Is just we give as much information as possible, covering as many topics as we would like to cover. A few of the topics, gender roles. A few of the topics is what we will need from the president. A few of the topics is how to start a podcast, how to write a book, a clothing line, and it's just not little. It's just different topics that are paramount to us that we suffer and that other communities suffer as well. But the greatest contribution anybody can make is to their own community, to the group that looks and represents their interests. And so I've committed myself to it in an intentional and obvious way. Um, Mission statement for the podcast, and you can find it anywhere these images are found, like Spotify, Google, Apple, and most places where you have a podcast, you can find it. The mission statement: many issues in the African American slash Black community go unresolved and unspoken, which leads to trauma and unnecessary collateral damage. This podcast addresses those issues as we listen and learn from our diverse group of guests. We listen and learn while finding solutions internally as a community. And that, I mean, that's the purpose right there. The more information, you can follow this link, the Specificity Podcast, as well as other streaming platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and we have some merchandise here. One thing I'm finding is to give people information in as many different ways as possible. Presentation is really important to a lot of people. And so the greatest thing that me myself looking at myself I can do is present it in as many different ways as possible. That way it's not stagnant. And so the first one you can see is the culture. And I mean it's verbatim. It's verbatim. You can see the power of the church and how it's used to extract economic power from us when it comes to jewelry and when it comes to sports and the representation we have within the music industry, the power of education and how it teaches the inferiority complex, as well as the prescription drugs, how it's backed by the criminal justice system with the presence of um, the judge being there, and then how it's protected and reinforced by the criminal justice, and as well as the military. In the back, you have a school that is fighting for life versus the prison system, and the school is corroding. So you can see which one is starting to win. You can see the fantasy that sells in the back when it comes to the sports, when it comes to the cars, when it comes to the liquor and the guns in the back. And in the very, very top right corner, you can see how we have a ship going to space, and it's there to signify the priority. We spend billions and trillions on going to space, while some of the living conditions here where we are is abysmal, or worse than abysmal. It's terrible. And you can see the population that's most affected, and that is the Black and Brown community. Some from here in the United States, and other from third world countries. That kind of plays into that same intent. The next set is the economic independence. I like this. This one makes me smile a lot. And essentially, this is the foundation to any thriving and prospering community. Schools to educate, health clinics for dental and physical health, stores, banks, law enforcement, farms, and manufacturing. I feel like with that, that's the foundation of essentially economic independence. Under that is coping skills. I'm learning that we're gonna go through trauma. You're gonna go through conflict. How do you cope? It's not. There's nothing you can do to avoid these things. They're gonna happen. But how do you react when they come? And so here are some examples that are healthy and progressive and that can propel you in the next to the next level. Cleaning, prayer, exercise, painting, cooking, writing, meditation. These are some examples that, if people don't like these, that's fine. You can choose your own, but now you have a stable place to start from. Growth and progress is the past and first entertainment logo, but it sprouted a little bit of a stem, and it's to show the minute steps of progress and how small and minuscule it could be, but still has an incredible impact because it shows growth and progress. Growth and progress again, Nintendo Switch case, the face mask, and the A Letter to My Children backpack. And the A Letter to My Children is the album, that's the film, and that is the book. Essentially, it's success in career development. It is relationships and communication. It's relationships as well, and it's addressing a lot of the issues that are paramount in our community, and kind of showing how to react to them. If you go about it this way, most likely this is the outcome. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to see it. If you give into it more times than not, this is where it's going to usually end up based on that intention, that energy, and that context. And so my biggest thing is to prepare. Um, and this makes me smile. This is my family. This is myself, my wife, my oldest, Ayana, Bashiri in the middle, and Israel, the youngest. And that's just the energy I'm standing on. Promo code going on right now, 25% upliftment. Store is right here for the link. Or if you go through a third party independent from the website, OMARIAA shop.com. And it's just about getting better. Past first entertainment, films, books, music. People don't want to be educated unless you can entertain them first. And so it's really manipulation. Like my latest song is called STEM. It's actually right here. And science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And I put it over a beat that bumps a little bit. And then I present it in a certain way to where it's easily digestible. And so that's my goal. That's my intent, is to pump out as much music as I can that has the same information from the curriculum, to pump out as many books as I'm able to that has the same thing as the curriculum, that reflect the film, that reflect the music itself. And so it's just giving the same intent in as many different ways as possible that's easily digestible. And so for those who do want the silent film, they can listen to it, A Letter to My Children. Those who want the book, they have that option, or the audio book, they have that option. And so it's just presenting as much as possible in as many different ways and getting better as we do it. If people support it, that's great. People don't support it, that's great too. The biggest thing is that I'm leading by example for the next generation, and um, I'm I'm giving the same intent that my or similar intent as my elders, but they might not necessarily have the passion and energy and creative skills that I have. And so it's being that bridge from the younger generation to the older generation, while God and our ancestors watch and document it all. The anthem is on there as well. And just a few of the images, it's the same intent from the Black Excellence Gallery. I took some of those images and I made a song to it, to where you can visually see these reinforcing images and hear them as well. So now that's two senses we've appealed to. We've appealed to the sight, which is the visual, and to the audio, which is the listening. And so that's just the intent, is as much as possible. A letter to my children, success in career development, communication and relationships, and peer pressure and conflict resolution. The tracks, coping skills, distraction, no love, are you different, featuring Smooth Jeff. I love myself, featuring Ray June. Why I do it, featuring Maney. Community, featuring Terrell Rashawn, and generational progression. And so you can start to see a trend. This is what we stand on. The film underneath it, and the silent film. And the goal for the silent film is that as you watch, you talk with people close to you. Really, the youth is really what I'm making a lot of my content for. Ages like 6 to 21, 24, in that we bring the older generation, which is in the 60s, the more 40 generation, and then the like 20, and then like the 7, 8, 9, 10. And we come together and have these intentional conversations and just get better. That's the biggest thing, is that we get better, be consistent and unwavering with it. We have the behind the scenes, and the behind the scenes is everything. It is the actor interviews. It is the shots we didn't use. It is the just on being on set and just relaxing. And shout out to the people that helped with this project too, when it comes to the album, to the film, to the book, and for everybody that assisted. And the credit is all here. These are the actors and the directors. We have the featured artist, and so it's just leading by example. Because by example, I lead. Then from all this content, I'm gonna make money off it. My biggest thing is that it's available to people. If they want to buy it, they will. If they don't, I don't mind. If you watch 10 seconds of it, that's amazing. If you watch 0 seconds of it, that's fantastic too. We have to keep going, and it's something bigger. And I'm glad that we realize this and we continue to get better. So the behind the scenes is here. The film is here on the website, omariaa.com. Watch it. Don't. That's okay. The book, which is bits of the film, bits of the album woven in. A lot of the lyrics that I used in the album is in the book, and some of the dialogue from the film is in the book as well. And essentially, I wanted to present it in different ways, and so I made an audio book of it to where people want to listen and still get the visual, because you're gonna see what I'm saying. This is a certain way that I say it, and I'm okay with it. I take the consequences and the reward of my decisions, and I don't want to repent. And I'm here to lead by example and to make mistakes so people don't make the same mistakes. And so I have the audio book here, and I have the digital book if people are interested, as well as the tangible softback. The homicide hotline. This is a conversation I was having with one of my partners, and they talked about. He told me how J. Cole talked about how there's a mental health and substance abuse and gendered identity, but there's really not one for somebody who's on the edge, for someone who's about to take that next step. And so I said I could wait for somebody else to do it, or I can just create it myself and be that example for somebody to do better with. And so that number is 405-254-6557 in the mission statement. The hotline is a free preventative resource toward lowering both homicide and suicide rates in the community. Hotline is open to the public 24/7. And I essentially took a Google number and attached it to my phone. And with the skills and experience that I have, it's a resource that people have available to them. If they want to use it, that's great. If they don't, that's great too. The biggest thing is it's available, it's advertised, and it's consistent, and it's stable, and it's reliable. And for more information, you can follow this link under it. Next, we have the Peace First Association, which is the vocational nonprofit. And the intent with this one was it's a lot of the issues in the community that I belong to, I made solutions for them. And I just so happened to learn the skills that comes with it, have a resume that supports it, and then to put an LLC behind it, or to file with the state and become a nonprofit behind it. And essentially, that's what these have become. They've grown on their own as I've just committed myself unwaveringly toward progressing my community and to progress in every community, essentially, because a lot of the same issues in our community, other communities have too. And so this stuff really translate really well. Um, Mission statement. It's a nonprofit based in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, whose purpose is to empower and uplift the community by providing assistance with vocational training, basic life skills by way of technology, career development, and mental/emotional health counseling unlicensed. And I had to put that unlicensed in it because if I did have a license, the communication will be protected by law. And so essentially, it's just me and you talking to each other. Look, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's career development. What would you want to do if you could get paid to do anything in life other than sports or video games? What would you want to do? That's career development. How to communicate and ask questions. That's vocational skills, vocational training. And so it's just keeping it simple while keeping it intentional at the same time. Because a lot of things I'm finding with the next generation, I ask them, what do you want to do? They instantly go to sports or video games. So I ask them, other than sports or video games, what would you like to do? Well, Mr. Omari, I really want to design the game. Well, that's called animation. That's called graphic design. So that's not designing video games. That's a science. That's a skill. That's an art to it. Well, I really want to be a coach or a physician. Well, now you're talking about being a life coach. Now you're talking about being a physical therapy, which is a science, which is a medicine and a practice. And so it forces them to be more specific, other than I want to play a sport. I want to be involved in video games. No, what exactly do you want to do? And then we just have dialogue from it. And so, really, my goal is to manipulate as much as possible in a progressive and loving context. I want people to learn without realizing they're learning. I want people to grow without realizing they're growing. And I want people to progress without realizing they're progressing. And they'll look up and they'll be where they need to be. The people's criminal law. Essentially, again, one of the biggest things that stifled our growth and stability when it comes to our family and community is the criminal justice system. A lot of people don't realize that the public defender, their job is to lose and take plea deals. Their job is to get you on probation for 20 years unsupervised. Their job is to get you on 10 years supervised probation so you continue to give those urinary analysis and pay those fees and pay those court fees. And if you miss one, now they can get more money, more time off you. And so it's really they let you win the battle so they can win the war on paper. And that's where I step in. Mission statement. It's to ensure that the community is well informed on the processes, procedures, laws, rights, and any other important information within the realm of the judicial system. I have a dual bachelor's in forensic science and criminal justice. And even while I was getting it, this is the whole reason that I started. I started to be able to be in a position where I am now and to be able to prevent people from falling into the trap intentionally. So now it becomes cyclical. So now it becomes generational. People don't want to hear it. Frankly, I don't care. They're gonna hear it. Um, and if they don't hear it, hopefully this doesn't happen. They're gonna hear it from somebody close to them being affected, and now have to react. Remember, we talked about prevention. The key is prevention. And so, who am I though? I'm this person saying all these things, offering all these things. Who am I? You can find more about me from the author, but let's go through it, and give a brief synopsis, and we'll wrap it up with this. This is a pilot. Just keep it simple, keep it concise, to the point. Omari Ajanaku, paralegal, educator, father and husband, producer, podcast host. Every step I take toward my success is another toward my death, and so I step. And these are the community resources I have to offer, pro bono or free. People don't like the word free, so I kind of play with that a little bit. But criminal justice navigation, which guides the community through and gradually out of the criminal justice system. Legal research, which helps the community identify and understand laws that apply to the facts of their case. This includes, but is not limited to, statutes, which is state laws, ordinances, which is like local, municipal, like your local city rules and regulations, and court opinions, which are called precedents, which is previous rulings on older cases or opinions from judges who were given like a peer review on older cases. Crime and scene examination is probably my favorite one out of all these. Assist the community with analyzing and understanding the crime scene, the significance of evidence, the chain of custody, and other facts that are paramount to their case. So essentially, my job is to hold your public defender accountable for what they say and what they do, and to make sure the paperwork matches the verbiage, because they can say anything, but once you sign that paper, it's done. Mental and emotional counseling, unlicensed, guiding and assisting the community with their personal, emotional, mental, and spiritual difficulties. It's just talking. Let's just talk to each other. Um, you know, what do you need? Are you okay? What are our coping skills like? If you don't need anything, then I'll leave you alone for now. Let's follow up in a week or two. What's best for you? Career development, helping the community plan and execute their life's work and purpose. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, this stuff is really, really simple. It's just, I think we have this unrealistic vision in our mind that everything has to be in an independent office. You have to go to a third party site. You have to charge people. It has to be really formal. It has to stop. What do you need? Let's just talk. What do you need? Let's write things down on paper. And then from there, let's get more specific and more intentional. Vocational training, the education that prepares the community for work, email, Google Drive, Microsoft Word, communication skills, interviewing skills, how to dress for an interview, the really minute fundamental things that is overlooked. Um, this is why we're here. The homicide hotline, 405-254-6557. 24/7 free preventative resource toward lowering both homicide and suicide rates in the community. This is, I haven't told a lot of people, but this is the campaign flyer. I'm gonna run for office one day, maybe a board of education, maybe be a city council. I just know that I have to do something, and even if I fail, I still succeeded because I'm positioning myself and getting experience for the next step in my career. The next step is law school. The next step is economic independence, and the next step is producing more work that's uplifting, that's empowering, and that's informational, without people realizing that it's informational and educational. This is me. The website again is omariaa.com. The store, omariaa shop.com. And to contact me, you can contact me through the website directly. You can scan the QR code. It'll lead you to I forget the name of the site where we can, is this my scheduling for me. And this is just a little bit about me. This is the same link, Calendly, that's the name of it, a Calendly link, as well as my previous episodes where I'm on other people's podcasts, just giving my intent, giving my purpose, and just reaching as many audiences as possible as I lead by example. And so I'm gonna give a brief biography, and I think we'll call it, and I'll see everybody next week. His name is Swahili and comes from East Africa and Kenya. Omari means the highest mountaintop and close to God. Ajamu means he who fights for what he wants. Ajanaku means free and multi people. Omari is a husband and father of three children, Ayana, Bashiri, and Israel. Omari was born in Chicago, Illinois, and grew up in Langston/Guthrie, Oklahoma. After attending Langston University in 2012, he graduated from the University of Central Oklahoma in 2017 with two bachelor degrees, one in forensic science and the other in criminal justice, with the intention of using both with his future law degree. We're going to manifest that. 3 years, we're going to manifest it. His experience includes 7 years with Oklahoma City Public Schools as a substitute/language arts teacher, 7 years with the YMCA as a youth and family counselor/coordinator, and 4 years with various youth shelters as a youth specialist advocate. Omari is the owner of an entertainment company, criminal law office, a vocational nonprofit, and a podcast. His purpose is to control his intellectual property, ensure generational wealth, and to lead by example while doing what he loves to do. This is the pilot episode. I'm playing with the Kinson new camera I'm using, and so we'll just continue to get better. And weekly Wednesday webinar. I think that's the. I'm playing with that name, but we'll stick with it for now. Weekly Wednesday webinar. Every Wednesday for about 30 minutes to an hour. I'll come on, maybe a brief lesson, maybe preview some new music, maybe a little bit of a film, a book. Eventually, I'm gonna do the how to produce a song from beginning to end when it comes to finding a beat to the lyrics, same as a book, and type of processes you need to do versus a UPC and the ISBN, and why they're important, as well as the format you need to have it for the digital ebook and the audiobook process as well. I have an audiobook. Be ready for the audiobook though. That's strenuous. I'm just letting you know in advance. You got to be committed for that one. And it's just given everything that I've learned, everything I've done, and enlightening as many who want it, introducing myself to the community as I continue to get better, and being that example that people can follow and do better than. My goal is for you guys to be better than me, especially the next generation. What I'll do is we go back to the home. And the last thing I want you all to see is a bit and piece of the Black Excellence Gallery. And so as we wrap up today's webinar, I'll see everybody next week. And I thank you for the support. And I thank you all for the lack of support too, because everybody's doing what they're meant to do. See you all next week.